You actually rode in one of these cars with Uber as
Yes.
part of a story. We're going to
Yeah.
talk about that, but they put these cars on the road without getting the proper permission, it sounds like.
Yeah, and they knew that they were sort of potentially going to have a little fight on their hands. I don't think they anticipated how strongly the DMV would react, but Google, BMW, GM all have permission from the California DMV to operate in California, and Uber's like, we don't think we qualify as autonomous. They're literally referring to it as self-driving, but say they're not an autonomous vehicle in the legal sense.
Now, at this point, the cars are still on the roads. They haven't actually hit the brakes, right? So is there a stalemate here? Are they just waiting to hear what kind of action might be taken?
Uber has yet to actually put out an official statement reacting to the DMV saying this is illegal. So it seems like they're still sort of deliberating internally. The DMV, on the other hand, hasn't really said what actual authority or pressure that they can bring to bear on Uber. So we're sort of in a standoff at the moment where the DMV has said this is not allowed, that Uber needs to cease, it's illegal, and Uber has just sort of been silent.
Now, the cars have been on the road in Pittsburgh, and San Francisco would be their second city. Talk to us about the ride. What was it like?
Yeah, so you have to imagine you have two people in the front. You have the driver with his hands just hovering over the wheel. You've got another guy who's he has to change lanes. There's a computer that sort of shows everything that the car can see. And you're riding along and it's like autonomous for a bit, and the car stops when it hits traffic or something. But then there are other times where like a bike whizzes by and the guy intervenes. And it's hard to tell, sometimes whether it's the driver's paranoia or the car sort of failing. There are definitely still moments where the car just sort of interrupts. It just says, beep, it just beeps, and then the driver has to take over. So my experience riding in it, less than 30 minutes, there are more than a dozen interventions. So it still feels sort of far off.
It's interesting because I was in a Google self-driving car 4 years ago, and it sounds like it was a similar experience. And it felt a little jerky, though today I hear from people who've ridden in the Google car more recently that they say it's fairly smooth. I mean, Sebastian Thrun, who invented the car, says he drives all the way to Tahoe with his family.
I haven't done the Google car, so I can't compare head to head. I mean, it's always a question of edge cases, right? So, I mean, if they're doing it on their campus, that can be easier, and then when they have to go out into weirder places they haven't been, they might run into more problems. So I think what we're seeing is, they can cover a lot of ground, but it's like, well, can they handle, the random pedestrian who's running the red light? All those sorts of weird cases and sort of human interactions too, like when do you let somebody merge? I think those are going to be the real challenge.